Welcome back, covering more Celebrity Big Brother 3. I'm here with Patty. I wanted to get his always interesting takes on this cast in this season, Patty. I guess this is your first time watching any sort of Big Brother, right?
Yes, this experiment for me was like holy sandpaper almost. It's like it's painful, it's fun to watch, but it's like I'm learning more about the gaming process since I was so bad at it playing the past couple of seasons. I'm referring more to the strategery and everything else, and it's nice to see macro versus micro in this case. To see a
Yeah.
lot of similarities between the personalities that I have played with versus the ones who are playing in the game with Celebrity Big Brother as well.
What is it about it that you find similar? That there's snakes even in the celebrity world?
You see the alliances starting to work in a certain direction early on that you may not be privy to because you're not on a certain call or whatever, but you see the snakery starting to play out. You see the personality types starting to evolve, with intro and everything else. To hear all these celebrities just basically wank off in front of everybody and tell them what they're famous for, that also showed me a lot of similarities as well with some of the people and the former castmates I've played with in the past.
Yeah, and I knew coming into this that the celebrities were going to be, their egos were going to be very fragile. And I'm pretty sure we're already seeing that on the live feeds anyway.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. But one person I'm a fan of, and we can discuss later, pretty interesting story. I don't know if I would brag about sleeping with a Kardashian, but this guy's got a fascinating story and it kind of hit home. And this guy is actually good stuff. And I know you know who I'm talking about right now.
Yes, I
Yeah,
definitely do. I'm going to go in alphabetical order, kind of like I did on my first video.
sure.
So, what are your first impressions of Carson Cressley? He came in like in on the episode, like it was his house. He was showing everybody around, I guess, trying to, and he knows a lot of the people on the outside. Which do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage?
No, they actually discussed Carson's social game because obviously with the queer eye with the straight guy and him being like overly just everything, the whole package. I thought it was interesting to see him, and yes, for him to introduce and say he'd do the breakfast thing and the cooking and just basically showing everybody in. That was a unique experience for me, but I think that can also backfire later on if you're that strong of a personality that early on. It could be brought up to question later on or even sooner in the game, like it has for me in the past.
Exactly. You're a big personality also means a big target on your
Target.
back. Yes, for sure.
Exactly. Exactly. And the way he took the driver's seat instantly is going to show the other players that, he's going to try to control the flow or, even the tempo of the game going forward. So hopefully that doesn't backfire on him in that respect, but you never know, especially when the snakes start to surface.
Yeah. Were you able to watch some of the live feeds today?
I was, and the most I I'll hold off, but yes, I did, and some of it was terrible, and some of it was somewhat interesting.
Yeah, I was just saying that because we did see like Misha and Todrick and Chris Kirkpatrick talking a lot about how Carson is a big
Yes,
threat.
and you also saw. Let me refer to her name, Teddy. Was it Teddy and Mr. Kirkpatrick from NSYNC?
Yes.
We're talking about that as well in private and kind of whispering. That kind of caught my ear, and it was, you have Teddy saying she's in your face. We'll be honest, she's from the Midwest. To be in that snake and whispering in the room was kind of an interesting dynamic for me as well.
Yeah, we'll get to Teddy here soon. Next, I guess,
Yes.
is Chris Kattan.
Oh, time has not been kind to him, my friend. Not like I watched a live feed this morning when they were eating breakfast. Did you see any of that?
Not that early, no.
No, they were eating breakfast this morning. It was Todd, Teddy, Chris Kattan, and Chris Kirkpatrick. They were all eating breakfast, and he was just like so nonchalant, so non just engaging. He just did his own thing, and it was just like I don't know if it's similar to my approach in the past, where I just went on daily life and let it resume, or was that part of his character? That was fascinating for me as well.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like him in the game so far, from what I've seen, I mean, the live feeds haven't been on very much, but even the episodes, I feel like he's not involved in any of the alliances. He's just kind of just living in the house.
That's what I think. I think he's playing all sides. He's just trying to stay neutral at this point, and that perceived neutrality, I know he's paying attention to everything that's going on. He's just perceiving that he's nonchalant, neutral. I think that's the strategy he's playing. Just kind of skate through the first couple. I could be completely wrong, but this guy's acting like he doesn't give a shit. But
no, I think you're right. That's what he's giving off. Last
yes.
night on the feeds, there was a point where Carson and Todrick were talking in the bathroom loudly, and he was there the whole time listening. So he's definitely paying attention.
Yeah, and I kind of noticed that, like his ear will kind of tweak like a dog, or some kind of animal, and he just listens and just plays nonchalant. And I think that's part of his strategy as well, which is pretty smart this early on in the game, because
it is.
You're going to learn as much as possible, and then you're going to know where to go with your alliances and all this other stuff. Just strategery.
Information.
The fly on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. You need information early that helps your game to go along the rest of the game.
Yeah, it may not help his acting career, but it's helping his game so far, I think.
Yes. Next up is the other Chris Kirkpatrick, who has been all over the place. Go ahead. What are your thoughts?
No, it's just like, I want to know your thoughts. You look more like an NSYNC fan than I would be.
No, not quite. I always preferred the Backstreet Boys to NSYNC, honestly. But I think Chris Kirkpatrick, I don't like him. That's my thoughts on Chris Kirkpatrick, because I don't like him.
The first thing that popped up when I saw his intro was that Eminem song.
Which one?
He says, M says, he says, Kirkpatrick can get his ass kicked just like those Limp Bizkit bastards. Yeah. That's my thing about Chris, but that's his claim to fame with me. But he seems shady too. He seems when he was with Teddy and just discussing, and when they were doing the whispering in the kitchen area with the live feeds earlier today, it was just like, I don't know. With him, it's too early to tell. But if the whisper is already starting and the strategy is already starting, didn't they say they already had an alliance with Carson and those guys? And who was the woman with the housewife of Atlanta? Cynthia? Didn't they already say they had an alliance coming in since they were like the first 4 in the house or something like that?
Yeah, they did kind of talk about that at first. I guess it must not have stuck.
No, I'm just saying, to see all these kind of pseudo alliances form early on in the game. You got one person telling another person something, then them come into this convention where they have this alliance for the first 4 to 5 in the house, was an interesting dynamic to me, especially when the whispering started. Oh, it stings. I've seen it in action.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, just past seasons. You say everything's good, then all of a sudden the whispering starts. And I did notice that with Chris and the rest of those guys. We have this alliance, but we don't. So that just kind of reminds me of previous seasons. I won't name any cast members or any of that, but there's some definite similarities there.
Yeah, also, I don't know. There's been a lot of speculation. I don't know what's true or what's not. They talk about it on feeds, and then the feeds always cut, so you don't really know what happened. But I feel like Kirkpatrick's the reason that there was a day of live feeds missing, because it was supposed to start the day earlier than it did. They've talked about how Mariah felt uncomfortable with him, and how maybe there's speculation that maybe he was just gone from the house because he needed a COVID test. But I feel like that's a little too sketchy.
I think it's all for the audience, to be honest with you, because you can play into certain aspects that play off the audience's fear. Because what's the first thing they said when they introduced the people into the house? We're following COVID precautions. We're doing everything safe. So why not play that to your advantage? That's like ultimate dot right there, baby. 3 lies for every fuck up you make. And
Uh,
I'm quoting Dot and Gist rather than actual quotes, but he said, if you miss,
oh, lost you, Patty.
oh, Nick, I'm so sorry. I must be running with the same service provider as Liana, maybe. Uh, I I feel like I'm on the Natchez right now in downtown New Orleans, right on the River District. Sorry about that. It just cut out for no reason.
Okay, just wondering. What were you
Yeah.
saying? Well, we'll skip the Dot thing since Dot's not here. I guess he was supposed to
Okay.
be here. All right, we'll move on to Cynthia Bailey, who's
Housewife with the Housewives of Atlanta, correct?
yes,
If my Real Housewives of Atlanta, 3.6 million followers. Uh, she's got a she's an entrepreneur. She's got all that. She's a model. She has a winery and eyewear line, right? This one.
yes.
Okay. All right. That was my notes for her. That's as memorable as she was, but
Yeah, she's pretty low key as well, I guess. I mean, she's like Carson's number one so far. It seems like.
it was like that. And they also were talking about her and her children and her husband were talking about that as well going into the game too. I believe from the first night. Did you catch that? Where they were telling her how, kind of giving her advice on her
Oh
strategy and her
yeah,
game
okay,
playing
yeah.
moving forward. So I don't know too much about her as the season progresses. Obviously, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research, but yeah, she seemed like, because didn't she say when Carson came in, she was second, right?
Yes.
She she's like, I know you, and he's like, I know you. So I don't know if that's going to be enough to pull them through and make their alliance stick proper. I don't know, because we both know once they start eating each other, it doesn't matter who you know.
This
It's
is
how
true.
far you want to further yourself. So I I think it was a healthy respect, maybe like a healthy introduction. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there'll be like so far in the feeds they seem close still, and it's been 9 days, so I'm assuming they're still close. I think for them though, I feel like if Carson is this big target that everybody seems to think he is, and he kind of is, then they're going to end up on the block together probably because they're going to be seen as a duo.
But I know that Carson and her also have like other people in their alliance that they were
Yeah,
discussing silently. So is that going to be enough to pull them through if they get nominated?
maybe it's going to come down to someone that we'll talk about soon who's kind of playing the middle and playing both sides already.
Oh, okay, okay, yes. But Cynthia, for me, I don't know her too well. I'm obviously not a follower of her on social media,
Me
but
either.
I will start just to kind of get a better understanding of her. So it'll help me with my predictions and her, just her overall behavior should she make it further in the game.
Well, we'll move on to the person you said was the most interesting to you, and he is a very interesting person. That is Lamar Odom.
Uh, you know, I remember all the jokes and stuff when he went through the overdose and was in the hospital and they thought he was going to die. And for him to talk about how he had all these strokes and heart attacks while he was in waiting, it made me develop a greater respect for him, because addiction and everything else is a true monster. And to have somebody who is like that well set, he's NBA player. He went through all his just overall CV with that. And I'm just like, my God, this guy had everything to live for, but he got hooked up on the vices and shit that killed normal people just like us on the everyday.
Yeah, it is always a powerful story when that happens. And I think people like to make fun of him, but like if you've had strokes, obviously there's going to be some damage, right?
I would think so, especially neurological. And for him to bounce back and write a best-selling book on the New York Times best-selling list, god damn, that's amazing to me. And that's why I kind of latched onto him when watching that, because it's like most people who go through that kind of stuff, like the drug overdose and hit their low, they have an option to either bounce back or just go deeper into that hole and not come back. And for him to do that, was a fantastic and actually heart-touching thing for me, because I know so many people who have died from various reasons going down those dark holes. So that's why I kind of latched onto his character, and I hope he goes far.
Yeah, I hope he does too. And I think he could. I don't know how strategic he's going to be, I guess, but he doesn't necessarily have to be super strategic in this season with all these celebrities, I don't think.
And I'm pretty sure that all these celebrities know most of their backstories anyways through just contact and just casual interaction, because all these people they go down the red carpet the same way. They all have connections who know their stories. I don't know if this is going to be used as a sympathy card for him or something greater, but I hope it doesn't turn into a sympathy card or a victimization thing, because, you know, when you overdose, you got to take some kind of accountability for it. You chose that direction you went in, but I hope his resolve and his just conviction and everything else that he's used to gut up and overcome that is able to transfer into the game, rather than, you know, him being playing the victim or them feeling sorry for him. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's actually in a good position right now in the House, though, because he's kind of in one side of the alliance, but I don't feel like I feel like he has connections with a lot of people.
And plus, he's such an imposing man. It's just like, he is so tall, so big. It's just like, I think maybe some of his stature may be playing an effect of that too. You know, I don't know, but we'll see as it progresses, because I haven't seen much from him other than a little bit of casual conversation.
Yes. Did you hear him talking about how he shit the bed last night?
I didn't hear that, but that's a phrase I use all too well and all too frequently.
Yeah, he
So
meant literally, though. He meant literally. I guess he
uh,
sharted in his sleep last night.
I know that all too well, that affliction, you know, without lactose intolerance and everything else. I haven't gone that route, but I use shit the bed quite frequently. So he's got a special part in my heart already. So I'll rewatch that, because that was last night's feed, right? The episode.
Yeah, well, it was during the live feeds early this morning. At some point this morning,
Oh,
he was
okay.
talking about it. Yeah.
I didn't catch that because I watched both episodes, because I know the third one is tonight, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and they're gonna go through the nominations. So I didn't get the pleasure of hearing him shit in the bed today. But I know I can queue through the live feeds according to my subscription, because
Yeah.
I got the premium one.
All right, we'll move on to UFC fighter and the first HOH, Misha Tate.
Well, she was solid from the beginning. She said she was physically, mentally, and spiritually ready for this, and she can handle anything. So she came through on the first HOH challenge, and I don't understand the whole hanging from the champagne bottle thing, but yeah, that was a fantastic display of physical strength. And there's not a person in that house I don't even think that can handle her.
No, I don't think so either. I guess she's kind of been messy as HOH, though, because she's telling people they're her targets a lot already, I guess. I just feel like she's another one similar to Carson who grew her target this week.
Yes, and I saw that too. Like Teddy, I keep mentioning Teddy because she's from the Midwest. They were talking about how she was a target too, and how she would kiss her ass. And we all know when you start talking big like that, and you have control early on in the game, it does make you a target later on. And you can't shit talk without creating bad blood.
But I guess she's probably used to it, I guess, maybe in the UFC. Maybe she's going to be resilient enough to shit talk and get out of it.
We all know that doesn't work well, because I can back my shit talk, and it didn't work out well for me in the past.
True.
So she is most likely gonna develop a enemy base as well as a team base, because if she's winning these physical challenges throughout the course of the game, I think she's gonna be a pretty powerful contender if it just stays with the physical, right?
Yeah, they're definitely gonna come for her at some point.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just like they do with everyone. Yeah, they will, especially when you're HOH just early on in the game and you start talking shit and making enemies. Because then she put Carson and Mariah up,
Yep.
didn't she?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. So I know those are two people right there that probably aren't going to work well for her later on, especially if it doesn't pan out well. Especially Carson with his strong social game. He can. I don't know about Mariah that much, but she doesn't seem like she is gonna. Her social game isn't as strong as Carson's.
No. She's next on the list. Mariah is next on the list. Any thoughts on her? I mean, she was trying to help Teddy and got herself in trouble.
Well, for her to brag, I may be getting that Rodney Dangerfield movie mixed up. She's like the only one to pull off a triple Lindy or something in the Olympics. Yeah, she bragged about that a lot, but we both know with elite athletes that they spend most time training themselves and they don't develop their social game. So you can totally see that in her demeanor. She's like, she broke down and cried when she was put up for an elimination. I saw that as well. So she's more used to working by herself than with team people. And I think that may work to her disadvantage. You can be good on the ice, but not good in the social structure.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems like her social game is definitely not the best. I don't know if you realize this on the live feeds, but Carson won the veto, so he's no longer on the block. Teddy's the one on the block now, but so it's going to be Mariah versus Teddy. If one of those are going to be the first. Well, there's also that whole little hat thing with the twist.
I saw that.
So there's going to be a twist there too. So I'm sure somebody else will end up on the block as well. But right now it's Mariah and Teddy. As we're recording this, the episode's going to air soon on the East Coast. But
yeah, they said a third person could be eliminated on this episode tonight, not including the ones who are already been nominated. So
yeah.
I caught that as well. But yeah, she's not noteworthy to me, and like you said, kind of lackluster. She doesn't seem like someone who's going to last long in the game, especially with her social game.
I like her. I would like to see her like develop these skills in the game, but I don't know if we're going to have that time to see that happen.
But you know as well as I do, once you got that target on your back and you don't have that strong social game, it's who's going to pick on you next.
Well, up next, it's spelled Shanna, but I guess her name is Shayna Walker, something to that effect. I have no idea who she is, but she was the one I was talking about earlier, who's kind of playing both sides right now because she has that connection to Carson and Cynthia, but she's also going back and talking a lot to Kirkpatrick and Misha. So yeah, she's here to play the middle snake game.
I don't have a lot of respect for her because she actually had a show on MTV. She was married to Travis Barker from Blink 182, the drummer, I believe.
Yeah.
And she's a Playboy model. She was with Oscar De La Hoya, and she went through a whole bunch of negative publicity. So those kind of people who sleep their way up to the top, I don't have the respect for her maybe that I should, because I believe her whole intro thing was who she was entangled with in a relationship.
Was her whole intro,
yeah. So if she has the ability to do that and work her way through the stars, I'm sure she has her way to work through the ranks. I don't know. Hopefully they have live feeds for that one because I'd like to watch them.
Yeah, I think that is her game though. She's definitely trying to play everybody right now, and she's damn good at it. She's very good at going from conversation to conversation and playing all sides right now.
Yeah,
and acting like she's everybody's friend. But go ahead.
Yeah, don't quote me on this, but I think when her and Travis Barker were going through the divorce thing with their kids, she was like bragging about getting like $180,000 a month in child support and alimony. So I'm sure this kind of vicious gameplay and this kind of just overall just assertiveness is going to roll over well into this game, even though the purse is a little bit less,
Yeah, well, so far so good because she is definitely good at the whole two-faced side of this game that I know you love.
She is still good looking to a certain extent. She's still charismatic. She still has a social game, and she's snaky as fuck. So yeah, she can be a contender, but we both know that only goes so far too once everybody sniffs her shit out. And it won't take long.
No, I do think, well, we'll get to the other person who already tried doing this and failed, but I think she's going to be better at it than him.
Okay. I think I know who you're talking about, but we'll just leave it up for grabs.
Up next is Teddy Malinkamp. You've mentioned her a few times. She's fighting to stay now that she's on the block next to Mariah, but I don't know. She seems to be the target right now.
Like I said, I don't know why I am kind of fixated on her, but she had this whole spiel about how how I overused that whole thing. I'd rather be shot in the face than stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
She kind of brought up the whole thing, her being from the Midwest, her being, what was it, Indiana or Ohio, her being John Mellencamp's daughter, that she'd rather tell somebody to their face than stab them in the back type thing. And we both know that's full of shit because I watched her in the live feeds, and I'm just like, if you're going to say one thing, act on it, not go another direction. And that's where I kind of lost respect because, like how my approach was, I never whispered. I always yelled from the top of the balcony. For her to say that and not follow through, I kind of pissed me off.
Yeah. Do you think maybe it's because she did end up stabbed in the back because Misha put her up on the block after she said she wouldn't? So maybe do you think she's just thinking that turnabout is fair play? Maybe.
Do you think it's paranoia too? Because
I do. I think she's very paranoid.
Yeah, because the whole gameplay paranoia, when you have a loud mouth and you talk shit to everybody, you don't know who you're pissing off. And that's a big issue I've had in the games as well. When you talk big, you don't know who you offend. And just to hear some of her whispering behind the scenes stuff, and you think about this, there is no loyalty this early on in the game. You don't think this shit's going to get on the other players.
True. Well, that might be why she's the target right now.
And this is why I love her, because she's making all the mistakes I've made over the past couple of seasons I've participated in. And it's fantastic to see some other dipshit have this play out on them rather than just me thinking I'm special. And this is why it's so beautiful for me.
Yeah, well, you're going to see in this episode that's airing soon tonight that, yeah, she's going to get stabbed in the back quickly.
And you think about it, like idiots like me always say honesty is the best policy. It doesn't necessarily, it plays out well in business. It plays out well in recruiting clients and building your client base and your social media thing.
But not in these games, though.
Not at all. Honesty is the worst policy that I've learned.
Yeah.
And if I choose to play again, I'm taking notes.
Well, up next is Todd Bridges. What are your thoughts on Todd Bridges?
I got to give him a real quick clap. He's the only one who's left, I believe, from Different Strokes. Everybody else is dead.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that he's kind of escaped the whole title loan thing, commercials, and has moved back into what he's doing. But yeah, he's kind of a weirdo. I watched some of the live feeds this morning with breakfast, and you can tell a lot of his pain and his life experience is panning through and it's coming through in his gameplay. He's really erratic. He's really just off the key. And that's what I love about him.
Yeah, I'm seeing that from a lot of these players, that their real life issues are coming through the game already.
And that's fantastic, because it's like, if Todd Bridges was a boxer, you wouldn't even know where he's coming from, which stance he's taking. Is he going southpaw? Is he going to go this route? Is he going to just be a bruiser like Mike Tyson? It's like, he is just so like, his issues are coming through, and I think it's beautiful. And that's where I kind of picked up on him and liked him as well.
Yeah, I like him too. He's another one similar to Chris Kattan, who I just feel like is kind of more sitting back rather than playing aggressively off the bat.
And plus, they're well seasoned. They've already made it. They know what it's like to be eaten up, chewed up, and spit out. So they're not rushing into it and treating it like a sprint. They're more marathon people, and I think they're taking notes. And especially with Todd Bridges, he's got the mental game because he knows what it's like to be fucked up. So he can find the other people's demons and just kind of latch onto those as well and use that to his advantage.
I do think he's an interesting one to watch. I want to see where he goes in this game.
I think he's gonna be like this head game person. He's gonna be like that guy whispering in your ear later on.
I could see it.
Bringing your demons out, because like I watched the live feed from breakfast today, and holy shit, this guy was like quoting the Warriors. He was saying all this weird shit, and I'm just like, wow. This guy's been around, and he reminds me a lot of me. Actually, I remind myself of him.
Yeah, I could see the similarities for sure.
No, this guy is fucked up in the head, and it takes someone else who's fucked up in the head to recognize that. And this guy is it. I can see it. I can totally see it.
Well, lastly is our first real snake of the season, Todrick Hall, who tried to play two different alliances against each other. But as we're seeing on the live feeds, everybody already realizes he's a snake.
I know, I saw that too, and there, like, I didn't know who he was at first, and I kind of looked him up after I watched the first episode, and he says he cannot cook, but he's a pot stirrer. I don't know if you remember that.
He's half of you, I guess. I
No,
do remember him saying that, yes.
It's just like, I cannot cook, but I'm a pot stirrer. And I'm like, already like him. And
well, he stirred the pot, but he got himself into a mess of his own.
Yeah, but you know what? I think he's smart enough and has got a strong enough social game maybe to get himself out of it, or at least buy him another couple elimination rounds, because
I think he can
like
too.
Yeah, I think just him being able to just tap dance around that and just be manipulative and that pot stirrer, I think he has that gift of deflection where he can bring the heat on someone else and kind of pull it off of him. That's what I think, because he's got the personality to do it.
Yeah.
You can't have 800 million views and not know what you're doing.
No, that's true. I mean, I think the one thing though, if Cynthia's power is she can nominate someone else, and if Cynthia and Carson already know he's a snake, he could be that third nominee, but I don't know if he would go home or not. We're recording this for the viewers. We're recording this before tonight's episode airs.
Yeah, I just think that he has the ability to pull the heat off of him. It'll get old as the season progresses, but this early on in the game, we both know that you're not going to give them what they want this early on in the game, because if there's any curveballs or anything like this where he can wreak havoc, since he is a pot stirrer, I think they're going to handle him similar to how they handled me in my previous seasons as well. They're going to keep him at a safe distance. They're going to have a mutual respect, and they're going to get him when the time's right. I just think it. I just don't think the producers are going to let him go this early, because he's such an influence in the game. It's too much.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you'd be surprised though on Big Brother. The producers let their more entertaining people go way too soon for my liking. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the first two out.
But you're already seeing big moves though. You're already seeing Misha attack Carson. You know, that's a big move right off the bat.
Yeah.
That's not an enemy that you want this early in the game.
No. But I guess that goes both ways. I don't know if Carson wants Misha to be an enemy either. She could win competition.
Well, physical, but mental and social. Yeah, I don't know if it came down to a social game. The physicality, we both know, only goes so far. I wouldn't want my ass to get whipped by her, but I think Carson is more dangerous with his influence.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's the cast. Do you have any final thoughts we didn't touch upon?
I don't know. There's a couple things that here's a couple quirks and like neuroses on my level. I took some notes about it. You said you didn't catch the whole just like morning breakfast type thing.
No, I didn't.
You didn't catch that this morning? I absolutely hate watching people eat, and they were cooking and eating today. And that was I forced myself to go through it because it was so painful. And I keep mentioning her, man, but I don't know if you've seen this commercial with Teddy, or Teddy was eating the nuts out of the can individually. Mm-hmm. And I believe who was Chris Kirkpatrick was telling her, like, she was eating the nuts, and Chris Kattan chimed in because he was like all off on it. And he's like, just take what you need and get out of the can, basically. And she was like picking all the good nuts out of the can. And I was like, for neurotic people that would piss them off, and I could see that being an enemy point later on. This passive aggressive backstabbing that's going to happen. Fuck, I don't know. The whole eating scene this morning drove me crazy. Todd Bridges at breakfast, classic Todd Bridges. I don't know. I don't know. I watched them eat breakfast, and it was a huge torture for me.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. I don't really like watching people eat either, but how would you feel if you had to live with the people you've played games with before? Do you think your neuroses would drive you crazy?
There's two different options that would probably happen with me. I would probably hang myself from one of the ceiling fans.
Don't say that.
I would probably hang myself, or like Anthony said, would be up on for CSI or something crazy like that. Yes, Law and Order, because I watched all the microphones, all the cameras and stuff. I couldn't do it. No.
Well, I would love to reconvene with you tomorrow if you're able to watch some more live feeds tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah. We can do that. I'll text you after we get off and go from there. So get the schedule. But I'm gonna start doing more of my research and kind of get in these people's heads, because there's footage for days.
Yeah.
And I have some persons of interest. I'll make some off-camera wagers with you to see how they play out.
Okay, psychologically. You can make on-camera wagers too if you want.
Because I think from a social psychological approach with everything that I watched the past couple of days, I see a lot of similarities between, online isolation and stuff like that. The only difference is these people have made it, and us, we're still playing, and we're playing for a refrigerator magnet. But to see these personalities that are so similar, so endemic to the game, to see those kind of personality similarities are almost kind of off-putting and shocking to me at the same time. Have you seen this at all? Like, you can watch certain people who are playing this season and say, oh, that's so-and-so.
Oh, yeah. I do that all the time when I'm talking about these other shows. I always compare them to players in our games.
Yes. And I see a lot of similarities already, and it's scary because now I know I'm not nuts.
No,
I'm still insane, but I'm still mental. But to see it on a bigger level now, I don't think I'll take it as personally in the future as I did in the past.
That's a positive.
Because no, it is, and thank you for that. But the similarities are so striking, so just prolific. They're hard to ignore. So when Jed told me I was full of shit on reading people, now I know we all fall into these personality archetypes. We all like to think we're special little flowers. We all like to think we're individuals and unique. But now that I'm seeing this play out in a different level, it's kind of interesting to me. I don't know. Am I crazy or?
No, you're not crazy. I think it's going to be fun getting into your head while you get into these people's head during this game.
Yes, I hope you're ready for this, because this is going to require a lot of counseling and other things. Couch time for you on your end. For me, I've already been there, so I don't know.
I'm ready for it. I think it's going to be fun. I would like to thank you for joining me today. We'll reconvene tomorrow if you can. If not, Sunday. I'd prefer to do it both if you can, but
let's do it. Are we gonna have more participants this time around? Can we get
I don't know about that.
Dee Dee or Dodd or
I don't think anybody's watching. I think it's just gonna be me and you. But
okay, this will be an interesting exercise, especially for later on if I decide to play again.
I think it will be.
All right, thank you, sir.